I think that Islam can do everything that Bilal does, but way better. Okay, way better. So, and the fight, I thought Jack handedly had the fight, but it was a fight. Okay, so I don't think it'll be an easy fight for Jack. He's got that X factor. He's got that hunger there. You know, he's got the ticker. And, you know, just like with Bilal, just like with Burns before, I think he can do the impossible.
Robert Whittaker shares shocking insights on the upcoming fight between Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev. On the other hand, Gilbert Burns shared his thoughts on Islam Makhachev potentially moving up to welterweight, saying he supports the move and believes 170 pounds is the right division for him, as Makhachev struggled to make 155. Burns noted that Makhachev has proven himself as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter and thinks a fight with Jack Della Maddalena would be much closer than most people expect. He pointed out that Jack has been training with key figures like Alexander Volkanovski and Craig Jones, giving him valuable insight and preparation. Although Burns admitted he has not had time to analyze the matchup in detail, he believes it would be a very competitive fight.
Islam is working very hard. He's been saying vocal that he wants to go up to 170. I think he's a big boy. He killed himself to make 55. I think that's the right division for Islam. He just tweeted something after the fight that he will not vacate the title, and then he vacated the title. I don't know, but probably that was in the negotiation. Yeah, I like him moving up. I proving himself. He's #1 pound-for-pound right now. It's a good fight. Jack and Islam closer than people think, especially with Jack Della Maddalena doing a lot of training with Volk, with Craig Jones, those guys that kind of back the Islam on that first Volk fight. I think they're going to have a lot of info, a lot of study, a lot of answers. It's closer than people think, this fight. I really like this fight. I don't have time right now. I didn't have time to dig deep a little too much on that fight, but I think it's way closer than people think. And JDM has a clear shot on beating.
However, Robert Whittaker said Islam Makhachev might perform even better at welterweight, noting that his weight cut to 155 has been extremely tough. He suggested that Makhachev's strength at lightweight could carry over well to 170, making the transition easier. Comparing it to Ilia Toporia's situation, Whittaker called it the $1,000,000 question and said everyone is curious to see how Makhachev will look in a higher weight class.
I guess that's the $1,000,000 question. That's the question everybody's asking. And that's kind of the question. It's the same situation as Topuria as well. How good is Topuria? But what's he going to look like up weight division? Same with Islam. By all reports though, the weight cut was really hard for him, like really hard. He's super strong for that weight division, which, you know, must translate well to moving up, making it a little bit easy cut. Maybe he gets a little bigger. It's yeah, I'm very that's the $1,000,000 question. Everybody's asking the same thing.
Moreover, Ali Abdelaziz confirmed that Islam Makhachev will fight for the welterweight title this year, not an interim belt. He stated that Jack Della Maddalena is currently the champion, but if Jack is unavailable, someone else will step in to face Islam for the title. Abdelaziz said this plan was confirmed by the UFC, including Dana White and Hunter Campbell. He added that one of the conditions for Islam moving up was that if Jack got injured, the title would be vacated. While he hopes Jack remains healthy, the UFC is prepared to move forward with a title fight regardless.
When will it happen, Islam and Jack?
Islam fighting for the title this year. The non-interim title, a title. Jack Maddalena is the champion, but if Jack is not available, it will be someone else fighting Islam for the title. That's what the UFC told me. That's what Dana told me. That's what Hunter said. Everybody said, you know, and that was one of the stipulations. If Islam go up, Jack get injured, and I hope he's healthy, and he seemed like he's healthy, this title will be vacated and Islam will fight for welterweight.
However, Robert Whittaker admitted that it is difficult to predict exactly how Islam Makhachev will perform at welterweight, since moving up a weight class always comes with uncertainty. He pointed out that these unknowns make it hard to judge any fighter's transition, as the physical and strategic dynamics can change significantly. Despite that, Whittaker expressed confidence in Makhachev's abilities, saying that Islam can do everything Belal Muhammad does, but at a much higher level.
But like I said, it is hard to try to get like an accurate gauge on what it's going to look like, not knowing how Islam is going to look when he moves up. Okay, it's always the question everybody asks when anybody is moving up a weight division or down a weight division. Okay, there's so many unknowns involved. But saying that, I think that Islam can do everything that Bilal does, but way better. Okay, way better.
Whittaker also reflected on Jack Della Maddalena's recent performance, saying that although Jack clearly won the fight, it was still competitive. He believes a matchup between Jack and Islam would not be easy for either fighter. However, he has faith in Jack's potential, highlighting his hunger, determination, and what he called an X factor. Just as Jack overcame challenges against Bilal and Gilbert Burns, Whittaker believes he has what it takes to rise to the occasion again.
And the fight, I thought Jack handedly had the fight, but it was a fight. Okay, so I don't think it'll be an easy fight for Jack, but I believe in Jack. I think he's got that X factor. He's got that hunger there. You know, he's got the ticker, and you know, just like with Bilal, just like with Burns before, I think he can do the impossible.
Moreover, Javier Mendez said it is difficult to say whether Jack Della Maddalena would be a tougher challenge, but made it clear that Islam Makhachev wants this fight and is fully prepared for it. He praised Islam's skill set and relentless work ethic, calling him a different level of opponent compared to anyone Jack has faced. Mendez emphasized that if the fight happens, fans will witness Makhachev performing at an elite level. He also noted that the move to welterweight suits Islam physically, as he will not be undersized and should be a strong, competitive presence in the division.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say if he's a harder challenge. I just know Islam wants this one. So for me, that's the challenge I want, and it's the challenge that I know Islam's going to be, supreme over, because I just know his skill set. I know what he brings to the table, and he brings an incredible work ethic along with skill set in every area. So, Islam's a whole different animal than Jack's ever been involved with. So if that fight does materialize, we're going to see a hell of a fight, and you're going to see Islam perform at an absolute incredible level. And also, the weight is not super big for him either. So he's going to be a fairly decent welterweight. So Islam won't be a small guy. He'll be a decent welterweight if that fight materializes.
Daniel Cormier explained that if Islam Makhachev successfully captures the welterweight title, it would significantly boost his already impressive career, placing him even higher among the sport's legends. While Cormier already considers Islam one of the best to ever compete, winning a second championship in a higher weight class would only strengthen his case. However, a matchup with Bilal Muhammad is off the table, as both fighters have openly stated they won't fight each other due to their strong personal bond.
Islam, if he is able to do this, would further cement himself as one of the greatest fighters of all time. He really would. He would cement himself as one of the greatest of all time. I think he's already one of the greatest of all time. But by going up to 170, one of the things that he would not do was fight Bilal Muhammad. And they were very clear about him and Bilal Muhammad about not wanting to fight each other.
Cormier also noted that Islam's presence at welterweight is already being felt even before an official move. He highlighted how other contenders in the division are reacting, specifically pointing to Joaquin Buckley, who caused a stir by criticizing Islam for supporting someone seen as a close friend. As Islam sets his sights on another title, the response from welterweight suggests his arrival is creating tension and anticipation throughout the division.
But then Joaquin Buckley writes, "Crazy that you were praying for your so-called brother's downfall." That was Joaquin Buckley. So not only does Islam have an opportunity to become a world champion, he's already got guys up at 170 taking notice.
Ian Machado Gary expressed strong respect for Islam Makhachev, saying that if Islam moves up to welterweight to compete for the title, every fighter in the division should be paying close attention. He described Makhachev as a highly skilled and dangerous competitor who can pose serious problems for anyone he faces. Gary noted that without the stress of a difficult weight cut, Islam could be even more effective, with his already elite abilities becoming more dangerous. He added that Makhachev represents the modern evolution evolution of mixed martial arts, a fighter who is technical, calm under pressure, and a real threat to anyone in the cage.
And if that man turns up and says, I want to be next, then I think everyone in the welterweight division goes, okay. He's an absolute disaster for everyone in the division if he comes up and doesn't have to cut weight. He'll still be big, he'll still be strong. He's the perfect example of the new evolution of fighters. Great everywhere.
Moreover, Daniel Cormier described a potential clash between Jack Della Maddalena and Islam Makhachev as a high-stakes, exciting matchup that carries major significance. He said if Jack continues performing at the level he showed recently, the fight becomes even more compelling, especially since fans have never seen Islam compete at welterweight. While acknowledging that Islam is physically strong, Cormier questioned whether he can match Jack's size and frame, particularly after reports that Islam had slimmed down in preparation for a potential fight during International Fight Week. He raised concerns about whether Islam will have enough time to properly bulk up and adjust to a new division.
It's a fantastic fight. It's a big-time fight. And if Jack Della looks the way he did last weekend, it's very, very intriguing fight because we've never seen Islam Makhachev fight up at 170 pounds. We've never seen it. We've never seen him have to compete up 15 more pounds. Yes, he is a big dude, but in terms of full-on stature, is he big as Jack Della Maddalena is? And also, if he thought he may fight International Fight Week, how small had he gotten? And how much time does he have to put the weight back on the right way before he moves up to 170?
Cormier also emphasized that the fight is not just intriguing for technical reasons, but because of the storyline behind it. Jack just captured the welterweight title by beating Bilal Muhammad, and now he's being challenged by a dominant champion from a lighter division. DC pointed out that the buildup is rich with drama and unanswered questions, and while analysts will later break down the tactical elements, the current focus is on the narrative that makes this potential matchup so captivating.
A lot of questions. But it's a big time fight, and we'll get into the X's and O's as we get closer. But right now, we're talking the story. We're talking about a guy that just beat Bilal Muhammad to become champion, now getting challenged by a 155-pound champion.
Henry Cejudo predicted that Islam Makhachev would defeat Jack Della Maddalena and secure his place as a two-division UFC champion, calling it a natural next step in Islam's legacy. In contrast, Kamaru Usman expressed support for Jack, saying he admired Jack's composure and believed he had the tools to successfully defend his welterweight title. Both agreed that the bout is likely to take place in October in Abu Dhabi, effectively putting any plans for a matchup between Islam and Ilia Topuria on hold for the time being.
I think Islam Makhachev is going to beat him. I think he's going to become the 11th double champ in UFC history.
Islam tweeted, keep it shiny, keep it nice for me. JDM, I mean, it was kind of like the perfect comeback. He was just like, yeah, come get it.
Keep my belt clean. Okay, so the talking has begun, dude. That fight is set. That fight's going to take place in October, Abu Dhabi. I think we all know that. We're no longer going to get Ilia versus Islam Makhachev just now.
Stephen Thompson shared his thoughts on the challenges Islam Makhachev could encounter moving up to welterweight, noting that while Islam may be a heavyweight by nature, many welterweights come down from over 205 pounds, which makes size and physical strength a significant factor. He pointed out that although Jack Della Maddalena might have a slight height advantage, it's the overall physicality of the welterweight division that could present the toughest tests for Islam. Thompson acknowledged Islam's exceptional grappling skills, but emphasized that Jack has already competed with elite wrestlers like Bilal Muhammad. While Thompson believes the fight wouldn't be an easy one for Islam, he expressed intrigue about the matchup and hopes the UFC will make it happen.
I don't know, man. I mean, when you're going up to the welterweight division, those are some big boys. And I know Islam Makhachev walks around fairly heavy, but a lot of these 170s, they walk around real heavy. I'm talking about, over 205, 210 into 215. Some of the guys that I've faced would walk around at that weight. I think like the height, I think they might be the same height. I think JDM might be a little taller, but when it comes to those guys and their strength, Islam, I think, is going to have a tough time. Now, do I think he could get it done? Yes. I think he's that good of a grappler. But like I said, JDM has faced some of the best welterweight grapplers and wrestlers in the division. Bilal being one of them. I think it's going to be a tough night for him. I would like to see Islam fight Topuria. That's just me. I would love to see that fight happen. But if he comes up, we'll see what the UFC gets behind. And we all know you got to convince the UFC to make it happen. And you do that first by getting on Twitter, shouting it out, and get people talking about it. And that's what Islam did. So we'll see if that fight happens with JDM.
Michael Bisping spoke highly of Jack Della Maddalena, emphasizing that his victory over Belal Muhammad was truly a standout moment in his career. He praised Jack not only for his impressive skills inside the cage, but also for his humble and respectful attitude, describing him as a genuinely good person. Bisping highlighted Jack's readiness to take on tough challenges and noted that his performance has set him up for the next big test, facing Islam Makhachev, a fight Bisping believes is on the horizon.
I belong to Jack Della Maddalena. He's an awesome human being. I've sat down with him several times and had some conversations. Nice guy, quiet guy, a man of few words, but I tell you what, that was an incredible fight tonight. And he'll take on Islam Makhachev. He doesn't care. He wants to be a part of the biggest fights possible. Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. That's the fight that's going to happen.
Dan Hardy shared his thoughts on Jack Della Maddalena's potential, recognizing his impressive skills, but questioning whether he can dominate the welterweight division with the increasing level of competition. While Hardy praised Della Maddalena's performance against Belal Muhammad, he expressed skepticism about how Islam Makhachev would fare at 170 pounds. Hardy doesn't see Della Maddalena losing to Makhachev, acknowledging Islam's dominance at lightweight, but he raised concerns about how Makhachev would cope with the physical demands of competing at welterweight. He suggested that the added size and the endurance required in a 5-round fight could prove challenging for Makhachev.
I think Della Maddalena's got a bright future. I don't know whether he's going to hold the belt or, you know, he's going to lose it to another one of the top contenders and then pick it back up again. I don't think he's going to lose it to Makhachev, though. I think Makhachev holds the lightweight belt against anybody in the world, you know, on any day, you know, including Ilia Topuria. I don't think if he moved up, he would have much success against Makhachev. But Della Maddalena looked very, very sharp against Belal. And I wonder what Makhachev would look like as a welterweight, you know, whether he would look as strong and as lean or whether he would look heavier and, you know, potentially gas himself out because he'd be stepping straight into a 5-round fight, wouldn't he?
MMA analyst Luke Thomas praised Jack Della Maddalena for his exceptional striking in his fight, noting that he outshone Belal Muhammad despite the latter's strong performance. However, Thomas pointed out some weaknesses in Della Maddalena's game, such as defensive vulnerabilities and risky takedown attempts, which could be problematic against someone like Islam Makhachev, known for his precision, control, and minimal mistakes.
You knew the striking prowess of JDM, if he could just have enough time to get it going, would be enough. I think Muhammad somewhat overperformed relative to expectations, but in the end, JDM was better. But the defensive lapses, to me, I know we have to focus on like how good JDM is as a striker, but what could have cost him here was the incompleteness of his defense. And to me, he took a quantum leap forward today in showing how good that was. Now, again, trying to turn that defense into offense by trying to go for some of those ill-advised takedowns, especially in the 5th, and then you're getting kind of lateral dropped for it. You do that against Islam, and I think that's a huge mistake. Islam just doesn't make a lot of mistakes, right? He doesn't necessarily have, at times, always the flashiest offense. I mean, he does have very good offense. We're talking about the pound-for-pound #1 guy in the sport. But what really defines him is that he makes very, very good decisions.
Luke Thomas also expressed excitement about the possibility of Islam Makhachev moving up to welterweight, while he recognized the potential for an exciting clash between Makhachev and Ilia Topuria. He was especially curious about what Makhachev could achieve at 170 pounds. Thomas acknowledged that it's uncertain whether the move would succeed, but he highlighted the tremendous opportunity for Islam to capture a second title and further cement his legacy as a 2-division champion.
Islam up at 170 to me is exciting. I know what everyone's going to say. Oh my God, the best fight you could have made in MMA was Ilia versus Islam. I'm not denying it. I'm not in any way asking you to feel differently about what was the best fight that could be made. But here's what I am trying to tell you. Islam up at 170 could be something really special. It could fizzle too, but I'm trying to point out the positives. It could be really special. For him to become a double champ could be a very big deal.
Luke Thomas clarified that while Islam Makhachev is likely to face Jack Della Maddalena next, it doesn't completely rule out a future bout with Ilia Topuria. He suggested that while Islam could experience a narrow loss at welterweight, he could still return to lightweight for a potential fight with Topuria. Thomas expressed enthusiasm about the possibility of Islam moving up to 170 pounds, noting that it could offer fans a unique spectacle, especially if Makhachev decides to compete in the division for several fights. He also emphasized that Islam has earned the right to pursue double champion status, pointing to his willingness to take risks, like giving Volkanovski 2 chances as evidence of his commitment to competing at the highest level.
Just because you're going to get, it looks like, Makhachev and JDM next, doesn't mean you actually can't get Makhachev and Ilia at some point. It could be he goes up against JDM and maybe he doesn't get his ass kicked, but maybe he just kind of loses and you're like, oh, all right. Then you go back to 55 and you can see what's up after that. So it's not even a case that you can't get it. But my point is, Islam at 170, if he gives us 3 or maybe even 4 of those, is a treat as far as I'm concerned. Like him vying for double champ status, he's earned it. He gave Volkanovski 2 cracks. He accepted one of those on short notice, and I know it was like shorter notice for Volkanovski, but you know, nevertheless, accepting to fight Alexander Volkanovski on very, very short notice is still risky no matter who you are and no matter how much prep. And he gave him both of those. He did one of those fights in Volkanovski's home country. He's earned it. He's earned it. He's absolutely earned it.
That's it for today's video. So what are your thoughts on this? What do you think about JDM versus Islam? We would love to hear your thoughts on this. So share your thoughts in the comment section and make sure to subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video. Also check out our other videos on the screen right now.